apologize in advance for that. But that wasn't the intention. So what I'm trying to bring through is a paradigm shift of that AI as we know it is changing, and it has already changed. So that's why I want to bring in the paradigm shift for you. So the most important thing I want you to understand or to think in your mind is that we've moved away from manual labor in a lot of industries, and we're moving fast into an autonomous legal system environment. And for that, we need to adapt, and we need to accept the change. So what would be the first one to become a legal orchestrator for this paradigm shift? Well, we need to create a new identity, but that's not the most important thing. We need to transform our mindset from a manual labor mindset to a strategic system leadership mindset. And that is quite difficult for us because as lawyers, we like to work with paper. We like to bury ourselves in dark rooms with heaps of lever arch files and books drafted in 1924, and now we have to work with legal technology. So it's a paradigm shift. So I want you to imagine, what would it be if you did no research, no drafting, very little administrative duties, if you had an autonomous legal system in your environment? We are one of the companies, we're not allowed to do sales pitches, so I'm not here to do a sales pitch, that's for tomorrow. But we've built autonomous agentic AI tools, bespoke, that we implement into your environment, and it learns how our clients work. And based on how it works, how you think, how you talk, how you practice, it then starts becoming your assistant. So as I mentioned, we are past the chatbot stage of using AI. We call that the reactive approach. You ask, it gives. Okay? That is past. So if you've missed that boat, don't worry. It doesn't matter. The next boat is already here, and it's agentic AI tools, assistance. And this is one boat that unfortunately you will not be able to miss. Because if you miss it, and I'm going to say it bluntly, you might be looking for a different job. Okay? So my talk is not about how agentic AI tools or how AI will make the legal profession or the legal professional, you, the attorneys, obsolete. It is how you will utilize AI to become the best attorney in the world. Because that's what you have. You have access to the world's data. So, now that you've got that picture in your mind, that you're not doing all this hard work that you used to do, especially when you were a candidate attorney or a clerk, I want you to get the mindset that we're moving away from the grind into a flow. Obviously, security is always an issue, and I will bring it up shortly. When we are working with all this huge volumes of data, obviously security is a big issue. As you can imagine, especially if you now start having all kinds of AI tools working with your client's data, we need new technology. And the technologists have come to the answer. It's called post-quantum encryption. It's a new encryption that is being developed, and I can tell you now that I just want to quickly find out where my notes are. The National Data Protection Office here in Rwanda is currently working together on a global task force to address this issue around data security, this quantum security. It is far more complex and complicated to any encryption that we currently know. It's completely new algorithms, and the basic foundation is that each user builds his own encryption key, password. All right? So it's very, very interesting. So it's very new. They are trying to use it predominantly in the financial space at the moment. There's huge resistance to it, because as you can imagine, for those of you that have Bitcoins and don't have your wallet keys, you can't unencrypt it, so you lose it. So that's a big fear at the moment, that if we move into this quantum space and we lose the key, then the data is missing. So it's something that they're being addressed. All right. So what my speech is about is that we mustn't just practice law, but that we must get your firms to be the orchestrator of its future with utilizing AI. So let me explain to you, just for those of you that might not know what agentic AI tools are. These are, as I mentioned to you, is predominantly tools that we implement in your firm. Some of them are pre-learned, that already know your subject. Some of them don't. But agentic AI tools takes a different completely approach. It learns how you think, it learns how you talk, it learns how you argue your points, and it builds proactively while you are brushing your teeth. It comes up with scripts, with documents for you, to review and approve. That is an agentic AI tool. So if you're currently looking for technology and it's not bringing this flavor or this, they don't have the strategy going forward, you should maybe look for a different service provider, because agentic AI tools is the future. So now that we know what it is, so imagine your clerk is now becoming your integrity guardian or your case navigator that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on what your daily work is. So that's a paradigm shift once again, because now we don't have clerks anymore. Clerks have assistants. So they need to upskill themselves, because they need to review the documents being produced by this guardian. So another imagination that I want to bring into your mind, and I brought it up earlier. Imagine while you are in a meeting with a client, this digital associate, agentic AI tool, agent, is monitoring all the court files in your justice system. It's detecting new filings from opposing counsel. It's running conflicts on those documents that has been done. And it drafts you 3 different versions of rebuttals for you to review. Challenging. Definitely a paradigm shift. And this technology is already available. It's already there. So what I'm trying to say is the lawyer and the advocate isn't being replaced. It's being promoted to the human in the loop. And you are that person that needs to provide the ethical and strategic final approval of what gets submitted. We spoke about the security components. And as we all know, that we are working with people's private information. So it's a fundamental thing that we get this right. Because if we don't protect our clients' data, we won't have clients that will trust us. So they won't come to us. So that's very important. The next move, the paradigm shift that we need to make, is moving away from the grind. The grind is where you have previously measured your value to your client on the amount of documents you've drafted, how many hours you've spent on his case, the different consultations you've had with matter experts. Look through the archives because someone told you there was something like this 10 years ago. Your clients are demanding results. They're not asking you to produce them 10 lever arch files that they don't understand. They want a result, and preferably a winning result. So to be able to do that, we also now need to move away from the manual work. We need to move into the digital space. That's where AI comes in, and that's where these agentic AI tools come in. So the modern law firm, you as the modern law firm, need to change your mind to start selling outcomes. So if you are selling outcomes and you're not selling an hour, that needs to change. The hour billing model needs to change. Because if you think about it, how can you quantify an hourly rate if this digital guardian of yours has produced 3 different versions of rebuttals or points of arguments, or identified conflicts in a contract, a merger and acquisition contract that you've done, in 10 seconds? You can't charge an hour for that. So that needs to change. So you need to change the mindset of your billing engine to be result-driven, service-driven. Food for thought. So in conclusion, the focus should now be on future-proofing your business and aligning your thoughts while we still can with what the technologists are bringing to you. We've been hearing a lot of conversations this morning, and for the rest of the day you'll be hearing a lot about it. These are all technologists and people that are driving these technologies. We can't stop because it's just the way that us as humans are. We need to advance, constantly advance. So look for your business partners and your technologist partners and your business consultants that have got the same mindset about what's next. Because I'm sure there'll be something after this agentic AI agents as well. We don't know what it is yet, but it will be there. And AI is here to stay. Sorry for that, but it's here to stay. The future of law is no longer who can work the hardest, but who can orchestrate the best. You have all violinists and pianists in your firm, and how do you manage all these different instruments while navigating the difficult side of managing the law, which is not flexible? It's black and white, but now you have to play in between the lines. So stop being the instrument of the past and start being the orchestrator of tomorrow. Embrace AI. It's not our enemy. We maybe made it look like our enemy, but it's not. So tomorrow we'll be having workshops, I understand. If you want to hear more about, sorry, I forgot to press the few slides. So if you want to hear more about AI tools that we've developed that's available for you and things like that, please come to our workshops. You'll see us all there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give over to Mark Pillay, my colleague, that's walking there with a beautiful pink tie. Mark Pillay is from AJS.
Hello and good morning, everybody. Are you well? Awesome. Okay, so we arrived yesterday to your beautiful country, and then we realized that we're potentially driving on the wrong side of the road. So we've landed now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Pillay. I work for a company called AJS, and my topic is just simply, so let me navigate through this quickly, please. From fintech to regtech, compliant in the age of algorithmic finance. Now that's a mouthful, right? And what this simply is what we're simply going to be talking about is how are tax regulators going to collect monies due to them and owed to them once they introduce artificial intelligence. My research has been vetted by Patha and Patha attorneys and smart business accountants. So compliance is no longer something you prepare for. It is something you are continuously evaluated against. We've traveled to Botswana, Namibia. We're now in your beautiful country, Rwanda, and the next tour for LTA will be in South Africa. So let me start by telling you what happened a couple of months ago. I attended an attorney's breakfast, and the topic of conversation was, what does the law firm of 2035 look like? Have you guys ever thought about that? What does the law firm of 2035 look like? And while we were talking, and you know what, I see a lot of young people over here, and it involved you. A lot of you are in junior positions now, and you will have leadership positions in time to come, right? That's the natural order of things. But the discussion that came up was, while they were talking about many, many different things, artificial intelligence came up. And AI means artificial intelligence, not angry Indian. Like somebody once asked me, is it angry Indian? So, as we were talking, I realized that people were talking about using ChatGPT for case research, for legal opinion structuring and document summarization. So they were essentially using AI as a research assistant. Meanwhile, what's happening in South Africa and many other countries is that the tax regulator is using AI as an enforcement agent. They're going to be using it for pattern detection at scale, real-time transaction monitoring, risk scoring across millions of records, automated cross-validation, and retrospective data analysis. And I've emphasized on that point because we're going to talk about that a bit later. In no way did they talk about no link to client enforcement risk. And when I talk about that, if you look at how they've been using AI from a ChatGPT perspective and how tax regulators are intending to use AI, it's two totally different things. If they could use AI the way the tax regulator is going to use it, they'd be able to go into their database and see which client poses the most risk. Automatically, you can see there's a vast difference in the way that artificial intelligence has been used. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is a gap, and that gap carries a legal risk for every company in this room and every company on this tour. Now, let's define the shift. And I'm going to give you three definitions very quickly in layman's terms. What is financial technology? It is technology that transforms how financial transactions happen. And if we look at something key across Kenya, South Africa, and Rwanda, you used mobile phones to transfer money. Before, we used banks. So we've changed the way that we moved money, right? And then if you look at regulatory technology, it is simply something that will monitor, report, and enforce compliance continuously. Now, algorithmic finance, and I'm really going to read this because this is important and I don't want to miss a word. It is data-driven decisions at scale, automated systems making compliance and financial decisions across millions of transactions simultaneously. Operating at a speed and scale no human team can touch. This is the engine behind what tax authorities are building. We've digitized transactions, and now we are digitizing compliance. So why are regulators acting? It's simply a money problem. They want the monies due and owed to them. So let me give you a few examples of the problems in South Africa. The commissioner of SARS, or he's just retired recently, he estimates that outstanding VAT equates to 195 billion rand, which is $10.6 billion. And he stated this in Parliament. In Italy had a VAT cap in 2017 that fell by 25% after introducing mandatory invoicing. And that equated from 36 billion approximately $42 billion. That's big amounts of money, right? Botswana boldly stated that they lose 60% of revenue due to VAT fraud. And how do they intend fixing this? The solution is that they're going to be using, they basically want they're basically going to be wanting each invoice to pass through the AI engines real time so that they could monitor, report, and take action. So that's going to be real-time compliance. Some global proof. We just saw Italy, where the VAT gap fell from 36.3 billion to 27 billion euros, and that was a 25% reduction in 2 years after implementing e-invoicing. Peru states that when larger firms comply, smaller firms automatically comply. So everybody has to follow the process. In Mexico, and this is the most interesting of all, what they did was they used cross-validation. So what was declared was cross-checked against what was submitted. And what they picked up was that 13,330 taxpayers were placed on a public blacklist, which means those firms could not operate. Their digital certificates were revoked. Then, 10,957 formally confirmed as fraudulent operators, and legal action has been taken against them as we speak. So tax regulators are very intent on taking legal action, and they are very intent on collecting monies that are owed to them. The UK, back in 2010, sort of formed the foundation of artificial intelligence, and they created the Connect system. Between 2024 and 2025, they recovered £4.6 billion in monies owed, a 35% increase year on year. And we're going to touch on that a bit later as well. Now, let's bring it back to Africa. Kenya introduced their e-term system in 2023. And let me show you how this works. And we've got to use Kenya as a live laboratory. Okay? So what basically happens now is the business issues an invoice. The invoice goes through to the e-terms platform, and in real time it goes through to the KRA database, which means the Kenyan authority receives the invoice first, and then the copy of that goes to the buyer. Now, while that is happening, in real time, 3 data sets are looked at. Invoice data, withholding tax, and custom reports. All of this is looked at simultaneously. All of that is fed into an AI validation engine, and if the invoice is good, 100%, the consistent record of VAT is auto-populated. If not, a mismatch is detected, taxpayer is flagged, and an audit follows. And what does this mean? That companies are simply audited while trading, not after. So they watch everything in real time. And evidence of this is where Commissioner Bell states that over 392,000 taxpayers with transactions on record who filed a nil return were flagged by the system. And if you look on top, it says from January 2026, this is when they started it. And if you look at when he made his statement, February 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, this simply took 1 month. 1 month to identify that many people. And over here, again, legal action is taking place. I'm spotting a huge opportunity for all the attorneys in this room, aren't you? So Africa the hero, and I love calling Africa the hero, and I'd like to say that you actually do feature here, ladies and gentlemen. So when we do mention your name, please do give yourselves a huge round of applause. Could you do that? No. I said when we mention your name. But I'm glad that you are actually listening, because this isn't the best topic to talk about, right? So I'm glad that you're listening. If we look at South Africa, well, let me start. Before any company starts this process, they need to go through a planning, a policy-confirmed, a mandated phase. We just saw Kenya as a live laboratory. So in South Africa, we have certainly gone as far as our SARS has created the discussion paper. It's been tabled in Parliament. We already know what type of method we'd like to use, but we haven't confirmed a go-live date. And what that means is that we expect this to happen in 2028, and we are preparing as we speak. Botswana, we were just over there. There was supposed to be a rollout in 2026. That did not happen because of a few internal challenges, but they are working towards that. Namibia did talk about it. It was not gazetted and not in force, but they expect launch date to be in 2028. Looking at the level of complexity around this, I do suspect it could be pushed out a bit further. And now Rwanda. Okay, let's try this again. And now Rwanda. What is amazing about what you guys done was back in 2013. Now this is exciting stuff, guys. You came up with the electronic billing machine. You guys know these machines? Yeah? Back in 2013, well, other countries, look at what, when the UK done their big analytics thing, it was 2010. You done this in 2013. You certainly are the leaders of the pack over here, right? And what this basically means is that all sales data is transmitted to your RRA continuously in real time, right? You certainly have the right foundation to move on to this type of platform, but nothing has been spoken about, and but your foundation is live. So well done. Come on, give yourselves another round of applause. Now, the compliance shift is very important. In the past, what would happen is a company would file the annual and periodic filings. The regulator sees the data weeks later. Errors are correctable before submission, and the audit is the starting point. Okay? In real time, what happens now is that invoice data is transmitted within 24 hours. The returns are pre-populated from live data. Discrepancies are flagged at filing, which happens once a year at the end, and the audit follows a flag already raised. Now, this is what's coming and is what's happening in certain countries. AI identifies the risk before you file. Risks are flagged from transaction patterns. Audit notice is the end of the investigation, not the start. It's the end. They already know what they're looking for. The taxpayer is flagged while simply trading, and compliance is embedded in every transaction. There's a vast difference over there, right? So, a critical shift. In the old world, an audit was the beginning. In the new world, the investigation happens continuously, and by the time the audit notice arrives, the regulator may already know what they are looking for. So, what is the potential legal impact on your clients? So, compliance becomes continuous. So, there is no year-end window. Errors are visible in real time, and intervention must happen before the transaction, which means you need to be able to check that your client's operating systems are compliant. Data becomes the primary evidence. System-generated records become the primary evidence in disputes. The question changes, does the system produce compliant data, and not simply are they following the law? If you look at the countries that we are touring on, a lot of these countries have their own trade, cross-border trade. If each of them have their own systems, how do we ensure that your client remains compliant, and how many systems would they need to operate in? And then your law firm, you are a VAT vendor. Any law that applies to any of your clients will apply to you. Are you compliant? And then a question in the room that only attorneys can answer. When your firm's invoice identifies your client's financial data and information to the tax regulator in real time, does the professional privilege or obligation conflict with your VAT compliance obligation? Which one runs first? Now, remember I stressed on the retrospective question? And this is very interesting because AI works on large data sets, right? Now, if a regulator now has structured digital data and AI to process it at scale, does this create the ability to re-examine past compliance in ways previously impossible? Remember, right now, they're only looking at things in real time. Now what happens if they can look at things retrospectively? And it is happening. Let me give you some proof. So these are all the data sets that a tax regulator would look at and are currently looking at. All of this feeds into an AI engine, and these are the outputs. Now, based on this simple diagram, Italy recovered 4.1 billion in 2024 by looking at data retrospectively. The UK, remember we mentioned that they built that Connect system, and they recovered 4.6 billion in 2024 and 2025. What's interesting about them is that they didn't just look at this data set, they even looked at social media posts. So if your clients are posting things, tell them not to. And we spoke about Mexico. And these are 3 examples of going back retrospectively. So each jurisdiction has a statute of limitations. AI is designed to find the patterns and trigger the fraud exemption, removing that protection. In your mind now, can you think of how many of your clients are at risk? So data protection per country, and then a question for the room. Now, each of the countries have their own data protection, and Rwanda certainly has their own. And data protection were responses to how citizens' data was being collected and used. Real-time compliance creates a new category: invoice data, transaction metadata, and business patterns following the regulators continuously. Do these data protection laws need to be amended? That's a question you need to answer. And as compliance becomes real time, what other areas of law does this shift begin to touch? And then contracts drafted before digitization, who bears the risk compliance? The compliance risk, sorry. How law firms must prepare, understand the digital compliance architecture. Don't build it, but advise on it. Understand how data flows and what systems produce and what mismatches mean legally. And this is for you to talk to your clients about. You need to look at what your client's data, what your client's systems are producing. And very important, ask the right questions from your technology provider, irrespective of who they are. How often do you release new versions of the software? How do you track regulatory changes? What is on your development roadmap? Am I billed separately for system upgrades? And ask yourself, does your vendor sell a product or do they place a product? And I'm pleased to announce that we at AJS have integrated with the Kenyan Authority, and our clients out there enjoy the protection of what we give them. So we are fully compliant. That was just my quick sales pitch, right? Let's move away from that. For you, the opportunities are expand your advisory services. There are 3 new service lines. And here's where the opportunity lies for you, because where there's chaos, ladies and gentlemen, there's always opportunity, right? So retrospective risk reviews identify client exposure before the regulator's AI does. Digital compliance readiness, assess whether the client's systems will produce compliant data, and cross-border compliance strategy across the 4 countries on this tour. And then your own firm, check your billing system, your billing cycle, and your practice management provider's development roadmap. Your firm is a vendor. Now, this is a call to action, and we'd like to involve you, and this is so important because we want to hear what you have to say. So this kind of conversation must continue. Between Legal Talk Africa and Smart Business Accountants, they will be hosting a series of webinars, and your voice must be heard. As you can see, there's a lot of things that need to happen, and how do we navigate through that? We need to hear from you. So we will be reaching out to you and inviting you to either be speakers at the webinars or join us and listen in. But your opinion does matter. And then the risk is not what you do not know today, it is what you fail to keep up with tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark and Andre, for the incredible timely presentation to the lawyers that are within this room. Before we move on, I would like to introduce hailing from AGS as well at Legal Talk Africa, Ms. Tsepo, the Director and Ambassador. A round of applause, please.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to not stand behind this podium because everybody's standing behind the podium and it's also serious here today. I'm Tsepo Mogolo. I'm from AGS and I'm sure you've been wondering, what is this AGS? You've seen our banners, they're all over here. But we are a legal accounting software company and our company is 45 years old now. And the best way to describe what we do is to paint a picture. So this scenario is in your law firms. Currently, when you need to manage a file, and you need to manage what you do on a client's file, then you eventually have to bill this client, because if you don't bill your clients, you're not going to get paid. And that's a fact. We all know that. Then at some point, you need to draft documents. Now, you're sitting behind for an hour trying to put and consolidate information, and it takes hours to get this thing done quickly so that you can give feedback to your clients. I've seen this many times in the law firms that we have assisted. So I'm going to talk to you more about being efficient. Systems are important to make you be more efficient. If you don't have systems within your practice, you're wasting your time. In 2026, we can't be talking about AI and you don't still have a billing system. Let's go back. Billing is essential. You guys studied law, you practice law, but you forget you're running a business. So what processes do you have that are making sure that you're more efficient in your business? So at AJS, this is what we do. We give you a platform which can work from anywhere, cloud-based. You can open your matters. You can manage the time that you spend within your file. Because what I've seen, a lot of my clients throw money in the bin because they forget to bill for the telephone call. They forget to bill for the traveling. And it all adds up at the end of the month, unfortunately. So you're doing the work, but you're not getting the returns. So what I'm going to say to you is try and work a bit smarter and get systems in place. AJS also has a mobile platform. So most of my clients, when they are stuck in court or their matters are not called on, they can still invoice their clients. They can still get feedback to their clients because guess what? Everything is on the cloud. Now you have data. If you're sitting with your staff, AJS gives you data, which means it's information. Because I can ask AJS at any given time, I say, please show me my top 5 clients. It gives me that data. Please show me which of my clients haven't paid me in the last 90 days. That's the data I have. It makes me work better because now I can have strategic moves while operating my firm. The question to you is, do you have a system that's giving you data to work smarter? So please, tomorrow we're going to have a strategic think session where you can come and we can show you what the software looks like. We're more than happy to show you its inabilities, how it functions, where's the storage and all of that. But I also want to encourage you to log into the Legal Talk Africa website. Please see what we do there as well. And that's me for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To AJS, if we may call you back to have one photograph over here. Thank you very much. One more round of applause. We're going to now take a short 5-minute break. Please say hi. Please use this moment to stretch. Once again, the bathrooms are to your left, and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Reverse to my favorite part of the ALT, which is now the time for the first panel. May I have your attention, please? Thank you, thank you, thank you. This first panel addresses the future of legal practice. It explores the shift from lawyer-centric to user-centric justice. Here to lead this panel, from Trust Law Chambers, Associate David Wahije as a moderator. Please, a round of applause. I think we can do better than that. A round of applause for David.
Good morning. I wonder if you can see me if I sit down. But I think for the speakers, they'll sit down. Good morning once again. My name is David Bahige Mutume. I work with Trust Law Chambers. I am a tech enthusiast. I specialize mainly in intellectual property. I do a lot of data protection and essentially anything to do with tech law. Always interested to hear this. So I'm so happy to be part of the ALT network. We were here last year. We're here once again. And I'm happy to be with you guys. I'll be moderating this session. I'm sorry I'm the one standing between you and lunch. I'll try and do whatever I can. I think the organizers did this intentionally, in spite, but no problem. Before I call out the speakers who are here. Can I see it by a show of hands? How many lawyers do we have in the room? Lawyers in the room? Ah, okay, quite a number. I was hoping to see the non-lawyers, so the people who did not put up their hands, I'm sure you're non-lawyers. This particular panel is going to be focusing on the future of law, right? And if you notice that the future of law these days is not just about lawyers, is that true? Many of the platforms that are being invented, many of the platforms that are being innovated, whether it involves artificial intelligence or even if it's simply the technologies that have been introduced to you here today by the previous speakers, you'll notice that you don't need to be a lawyer to build them, right? So we're moving from a lawyer-centric legal system to a user-centric legal system. So we're moving again from lawyers being the only people who know what the law is and how to get things done in the legal system to a situation where users are being given the ability to do this themselves. How are they being given the ability? They're being given access to tools that are making the job of a lawyer seem like you don't have to go to school anymore, right? And we can say this for any platform. For instance, recently I learned that Claude is trained on a particular skill to do non-disclosure agreements. Have you heard that before? I think for any innovator, one of the first documents you would want from a lawyer is a non-disclosure agreement. Because you want to share your idea with everyone. You want to share your idea with investors, right? So the first document that you will need is a non-disclosure agreement. Claude can do that for you very quickly. The presenters who were here before, I heard from Andre, who mentioned the death of billable hours. Thank you very much for continuing to scare us. Billable hours have indeed died, right? Because right now a client will call you and tell you, David, I need a non-disclosure agreement. However, I already have a draft. Here is a draft. What I need you is to review. Now, previously, that same client would call me and say, David, I need a non-disclosure agreement. And you pick up the phone and you say, yeah, non-disclosure agreement can be quite complicated. It can be long, it can be short. It can be mutual, it can be personal. It can relate to employment matters, it can relate to data privacy. It can also relate to, by the time I am done telling you all that information, I'm already counting an hour. Are we together? But billable hours have died now because any client will come direct to you with a document that they've already drafted and all you need to do is review, redline, and let them know if they're on point, right? It's not a lie. Billable hours are dying. How do lawyers survive? And that's what this panel is here to discuss. So allow me to introduce my very able-bodied speakers who are experts in the field, starting with Nison Karunji from Synergy Systems International. Then we have Ms. Joan Mutesi, who is an associate at CM Advocates, Rwanda. Ms. Mutesi is here. Please give her another round of applause. And then finally, from IST Legal, the AI engineer, we have Ghislaine Bisimaza. Forgive me for the pronunciation of names. If it was up to me, I would have read it as Ghislaine, but I was informed that that's not how it's pronounced. Very welcome. All right, so I'm being told that the third speaker will join us as we continue. So I think we can start right away with So just as a brief summary and an overview or a better overview, the panel before you seeks to explore how legal professionals and institutions can leverage artificial intelligence to enhance efficiency, expand access to legal services, and scale technology-enabled pro bono initiatives. This discussion will also examine the broader implication of AI-assisted lawyering for access to justice. I think one question that I have as well is, what is AI-assisted lawyering? Yeah? Does that mean assistance with I'm being told that our other speaker is now here, Nison Karunji. Please give her a round of applause as she approaches the stage. You're welcome. We'll also be looking at legal ethics and institutional reform. What do we need to do as far as the institutions that regulate the legal system are concerned? I believe that's the Ministry of Justice, the Rwanda Bar Association, and more. The questions that will be asked the panel today are for that purpose. So I'll give each speaker just 2 minutes to introduce themselves, what they do, and why they're here, so that the audience can better understand the expert nature of your availability for this panel. Starting with you, Ms. Mutesi, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joan Mutesi. I am an associate at CM Advocates, and I do practice corporate and commercial law, different aspects of corporate and commercial. I am here to reassure junior lawyers that AI won't be stealing your lunch money. It won't. So I'm also here because I've been invited and to come and talk about how we can actually coexist with AI and we can all survive. The lawyers, AI, all of us can survive and we can flourish, and it will be a happy ending as long as you don't resist. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mutesi. Mr. Bisamaza.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Gislain Bisamaza. I'm an AI engineer by profession. I'm also a teacher, mainly for graduate student, master student, teaching AI-related courses. I'll be here representing IST Legal. IST Legal is an AI-powered platform for lawyers and anyone who wants legal assistance. Just take it as an AI legal chatbot that was built on top of the Rwanda laws and case laws. Yeah, I will have time to probably explain some of these.
So we have a Rwandan GPT.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I can say it like
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
That's good
thank
to
you.
hear. Yes, please, Ms. Karunji.
Good afternoon. My name is Nison Karunji. I'm the country director for Synergy International Systems. I'm also the e-justice expert for Synergy International Systems. A bit of background, I have more than a decade in digitizing justice systems, and I have experience working in the Rwandan judiciary. I was one of the teams spearheading the implementation of the Rwanda ICMS and the Judicial Performance Management System for Rwanda. I'm also a certified change management expert, and it's a pleasure to be here. Why am I here? You may ask. Because I'm very passionate about legal tech. Way before ICMS, way before AI, it was always my dream to make sure that the legal profession is not always left behind when it comes to tech. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm glad to share with you any knowledge that I may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. So lawyers, you're in good hands, but as well, the non-lawyers, I think you're hearing different ways that you can be involved in the legal system, technology-wise. So as an opening question to all the three panelists, as legal systems begin to integrate artificial intelligence, are we truly moving toward a more user-centric model of justice, or is there a risk of reinforcing existing inequalities through technology? And I believe we know those inequalities, including people who can not access technology, maybe because they don't have smartphones. There's people who I think are disabled in ways that they cannot use the tools that are currently available. For instance, some tools do not support blind people and more. And I think all these are issues that affect access to justice. So the question is, are we really moving towards a scenario where we're allowing other users to also be involved in a way that can help them? Or is artificial intelligence going to make us more and more selfish with this legal industry as lawyers? Is it okay if we start with you, Ms. Mutesi? Considering that you're a lawyer in private practice.
I was hoping, since I didn't have the mic, I wouldn't be the first person.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, so there's two ways to look at it. One side, I would say, if not carefully looked at, it could actually widen the gap even further than it already is. Because, well, AI as we know it, is going to be, it is or is going to be for the people who can read. It's going to be for the people who have access to it, the people who have the smartphones, the people who have the internet, like the people who are actually going to be able to use it. And on the other side, it would also be a good thing for the people who can read, but maybe don't have the money to go to get more expensive help from lawyers. For example, they could go online, chatbots, legal virtual assistants, whatever, all those things, and be able to get help that they need. While on the other hand, the people that do not, who are not able to see, the people who cannot read and all that, are going to be left behind. Another side is, well, our very good engineer here said they have a bot. I hope it speaks Kinyarwanda. Because then at least maybe you can see that the inclusion is starting to happen. They're considering the people who actually don't speak English, who can rely on it using the language that they do know. Yeah, so that's what I think.
That's very true. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ghislaine.
Yeah.
Is your platform helping lawyers? Is it built for lawyers or is it built for other users as well?
Yeah, when we started, we actually started for non-lawyers. So we wanted everyone to have access to law assistant. So if you have any legal issue, you just come, you write your question, and then it answers you based on the legal law, like laws and case law. For example, you have an accident, you have something else, you just write your case. Is there any law protecting me? Is there, like, and then you get an answer based on Rwandan legal laws. So that's first of all a key point to highlight. These general platforms, they are mainly trained on the overall internet. So we focused specifically for Rwanda, so that when you ask a question, you get a localized answer. Then, after we built the platform, the main clients actually became lawyers. Even though we targeted normal citizen, lawyers were the one to first say, we actually need this. And then that's when we started even adding some features that can also help lawyers, like drafting documents, drafting a case completely with AI. But the main goal was to start with user-centric, which I say that if you start with mind of helping low-level users, you will end up even helping lawyers. But if you start by only thinking helping lawyers, you might not help low-level users. So, and then speaking about what she was mentioning, now the technology allows us, I'm not saying that we have already built it, but the technology allows us to even use IVR, which is where you can just call or use, like the way you are speaking on a phone, like calling on a call center. Then when you will get an answer based on what you said. Doesn't mean you actually need to even write a question.
Sorry for us, the non-tech people. What is IVR in for?
Interactive voice assist, but interactive voice response, if I remember well. Okay. But in practice, what it has is, for example, I know that Minagri is building something like this, where someone will call on a call center, but instead of speaking with an agent, they're actually speaking with AI, which solves the question that she was mentioning. I'm not saying that it will cover everyone, every detail, like every person with disabilities, but at least it will, even for those who doesn't know to write, there's still a solution for them. As, if you can speak, I also think that as time goes, we'll even have a lot of solution for even like all peoples with different disabilities. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then, Ms. Karunji, maybe for you, what I think, because you're the e-justice expert, you'll tell us do you feel that the ICMIS system is supporting more of the lawyers, or is it opening up a platform where the clients themselves can become involved in their own cases?
I think that in the first place, I'm always skeptical when someone says truly, because truly is relative. That said, for me, I think that it is yes and no, and I'll explain. When it comes to user-centric, we need to understand where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are going. So traditionally, legal information was only available to legal professionals who have been trained and who have studied for more than 5 years, who understand the Latin jargons, who write information in English that for us as lay people would need translation in English. And one scholar, Charles Dickens, referred to legal documents as a mountain of costly nonsense. I'm quoting him. Don't hate me, I'm quoting him. Because when he looked at the courts in England, he looked at how case documents were piling up by day, but justice was not being served. So now let us look back at where we are coming from. Then we can appreciate where we are, and then we can appreciate how user-centric technology is actually helping us. Right now, with AI, as my colleague was saying, a non-lawyer can ask a legal question, a procedural question, and AI will give information. Any language they don't understand, any information they don't understand, they can make follow-up questions, right? And I know this tickles lawyers a certain way because most lawyers like to be the custodians of this information. I mean, they've studied 5 years for this. Definitely, when you look at it. So, but in terms of access to justice, I think that technology is really a tool for us in Synergy. For example, as you say, IECMS. Imagine before IECMS, a person had to travel for days just to file a case in court. And when they get to court, they find that working hours are closed or they have gone for lunch or whatever, and they have to sleep a night in Kigali, spend more money only for them in the morning to come to file a case. Now, filing a case in Rwanda takes what? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on how you can use technology. So all this goes to show that technology is built with people in mind because it has to serve people. And it is built for justice. And so when it comes to user-centric perspective, I think that technology, when used well, can really serve the general public. Now, on the other hand, inequalities have always been there since the creation of human beings. And I think that we wouldn't be here inventing if we were not trying to bridge that gap. This is why I'm skeptical when someone says truly, because truly might go 10,000 years from now. So even now in this room, you will understand that with the use of AI, we are not on the same level. We cannot be on the same level. The most important thing is that we as lawyers, we have a duty to serve the less advantaged citizens, right? It is our duty. Let us not shift it to technology. It is our duty as servants of the citizens to use the technology that we have to better our skills and to make sure that we serve the citizens that might be less advantaged than us. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much. That's very clear. 10,000 years is a bit scary. But just sticking with you, Ms. Karunji, because you are also, you've talked about justice, and I'm sure many of you have heard of the saying that justice must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. And I feel that the we call it ECMIS system, but it's the IECMS system. The IECMS system, I know, may not be visible to many of these people, right? Because it's about filing of cases, and like you've mentioned, filing of cases has become easier. But then when it comes to justice being seen, and I think talking about the courtroom, do we see a future whereby we can maybe see cases happen in real time, like in court, making it easier for other people who are involved, including the public, to be involved in this justice?
I would say yes, for sure. Because when it comes to technologies like IECMS, these technologies are built upon procedural laws. They are built upon constitutional principles and rights and liberties of people. You cannot have a technology that takes that away. So the constitutional principles of open hearings, public hearings, the constitutional principles of justice not only being done but being seen to be done, they are definitely applicable in the Rwanda ICMS. And when we look at the virtual hearings, for example, see, most times legal scholars speak about the publicity of hearings as if justice happens and ends in the courtroom. That's not true. But when you look at technology, it actually goes deeper than that, and it looks at the publicity of hearings right from initiation of a judgment to the execution of the judgment. And so when we are talking about the principle of not justice being done and being seen to be done, we are talking about not just the dispensation of justice, but the publication of justice itself as well. So in Rwanda, we have the virtual courts embedded within ICMS, the virtual hearings embedded in ICMS. And traditionally, when we talked about hearings being public, what we actually meant in courts is that a judge will sit in a courtroom and open the doors, right? You're free to come in, and then that is considered public. But when we open the doors here, we are opening the doors to the people within the vicinity of the court, right? People within Rwanda will attend, people within Kigali will attend, maybe people in Musanze may not attend or outside the country. But when you look at virtual hearings, it actually broadens that publicity. It allows for people, even outside the country, to tap into those public hearings. If you ask me, that is even more public. Now, on top of that, let's come to publication. And when I talk about publication, you will excuse me if I take a lot of time. I'm really passionate about these topics. So when we talk about publication, again, it goes beyond the courtroom. For me, it translates to performance management, right? You know, initially, courts and judges considered themselves too good to be evaluated, if I can use that word. So for them, they would, as long as the case has reached them, they will process it and render the judgment whenever, wherever, right? So what technology does, together with procedural laws, of course, because technology cannot be implemented without the assisting laws, is that for justice to be seen to be done, the courts must produce reports that show the performance of courts. If we didn't know the level of backlog, how it is going, increasing or reducing, we wouldn't know how the courts are performing. If we didn't know the case clearance rates, for example, in courts, we wouldn't know how the courts are performing. This is what translates to us, the public, that justice is actually being served. Now, on top of that, with technology, in some courts, for example, in the Arizona courts in the US, they have what they call court avatars, AI-enabled court avatars. You see that what we mean by public hearings, again, is that when you're in a physical hearing, there are some journalists that are taking notes, reporting on the cases. Problem with that is that some of them may not be legally trained. They may not understand what exactly is said in the courtroom, and they might misrepresent that. So what the courts in Arizona have done is that they have created an AI avatar, which, when a landmark case is pronounced, right from the desk of the judge, this avatar reads the news to the public via a website. So at any time, the public can access that and say, oh, in this court, this judgment has rendered these principles, these positions, and this is what we are supposed to do in other places. So this is a good example of justice not just being done, but being seen to be done. And lastly, if you allow me, is that we cannot talk about justice being seen to be done without publication of judgments. Where does the judiciary publish its judgment without technology? Today, in Rwanda, we have a mategeko.net, right? .gov.rw, sorry. And in other countries, we have Uganda Lee and other countries. So now a lawyer in Rwanda can access precedents in Rwanda and in other countries through technology. Imagine what would have happened if there was no technology and you had a case to answer to in court, but you don't have access to that information. So I think that when it comes to technology, the principle of justice being done and being seen to be done is very alive in legal tech. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very clear. And I'm still going to stick with you. In as much as you think you're taking a lot of time, I want them to know, because you continue to bring up certain things. For instance, how public can a public matter be? How do we balance that transparency or access that you're talking about with confidentiality? Considering that now we have the data protection law of 2021 that requires a lot of things like impact assessments, you having a data control certificate. Are we looking at a situation where courts must apply to NCSA first before they start making some of these things public? How do you relate confidentiality with that access?
I think that when it comes to transparency and confidentiality, it is a slippery road to tread. I think that we cannot maximize either. We have to balance them legally. I said before that everything that is done in legal tech has to have a basis in law. And I think this is why the lawyers here, I will iterate it later, the lawyers here have to be the first people to understand the ins and outs of AI and technology. Because without the proper governance, without the proper laws, technology can go either way. So when it comes to transparency and accountability, the IT bases on the existing laws. If there are no laws specifying what tech can or cannot do, it can go either way. It could be too good or too bad. So it has to be regulated somehow to ensure that the transparency is there and also the accountability is there. That's number one. Number two, we have to always ensure the human in the loop. I know that in most instances, when you talk about AI and technology, lawyers are like, oh, it is going to replace us, or judges are like, it's going to replace us. But for that transparency and accountability to be actual, there has to be a human in the loop, because someone has to be accountable at the end of the day. And in most cases, although, as you said, asking whether at some point judiciary will be applying, I would like to see that, because because judiciary will make precedent not to apply. Yeah, but essentially what I'm saying is that we have to balance. We cannot have an entirely transparent system, and we cannot have an only accountable system, because then it will limit operations. So what we do in ICMS is that we set up guardrails, we set up accessibility rights, we set up who can see what, and we also ensure that when the information is available, like the performance information I was talking about, backlog, case clearance rate, etc., then it can be readily available to the public. So we separate what can be available to the public and what can be protected internally. And this all is based on the procedural laws and how the administrative of the court works, and making sure that there's a person in the loop for us.
Thank you very much. That's very clear. And I think, Ghislaine, of course, when we come to you, you also tell us about IST's confidentiality systems, if any. For now, let's move to Ms. Mutesi. Let's discover what's happening in private practice. Your question is, how is artificial intelligence currently transforming the day-to-day work of lawyers in practice, and particularly in Rwanda? I would prefer to ask, how is artificial intelligence transforming your day-to-day work?
Okay, thank you. I'll borrow what Nice said. She said we have to look at where we're coming from, where we are, and where we're headed. So looking back as a lawyer, most of the work that we do, honestly, it is getting information, looking at that information, and then we add our legal arguments, and then we deliver. That's what we do. We're literally information processors as of today.
Costly nonsense.
Yeah. So with AI today, it has reduced the amount of reading, the amount of reading, because I can simply use a chatbot to get for me a summary and everything, and then all I will do is sorry, my yeah. So what it will do, it will reduce my reading, and I will just add my legal thoughts, and then I'll just simply share with a client, and then that means it's cost efficiency, since I'm using less time. Sorry, I'm trying to.
It's okay, sorry.
Yeah. So it will. It means cost efficiency, since I'm spending less time on one particular work, which I would actually have spent so much time on. So this means I spend less time, and then I'm able to take up more work, and that means I'm saving time. And then when you look at how things are today, information is readily available. So it's not every day that you'll find people coming to you as it used to be. I need this kind of contract. I need this kind of contract. No, people will come to you. You already said it. People will come to you with a contract that they've already gotten from ChatGPT, and they'll ask you to review it and to look at it. So what's happening today with the law firms is that we actually have to make sure that even as we're looking at all this work, even as we're using all these AI tools, is that we use ethical what's it called? Sorry. We use ethical decision-making systems. That means we look at all this work, we look at what it has given to us, we see if it's meeting all the standards of ethics. That's the moral, ethical duties we're expected of as lawyers, and then we're able to give it to our clients. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And the second question is, do you see artificial intelligence augmenting the legal professionals completely, or do you think that gradually there's different legal services that are being commoditized? How does it feel today? Because I know in 2018 I made a presentation about discussing how whether artificial intelligence can come into the legal system. And if you look at where we are today, artificial intelligence has already come. I think it's disturbed lawyers enough to realize that they need to be involved. Should they be scared that artificial intelligence will completely take over?
If you ask me, I would say no, because when you look at it, artificial intelligence, there's an aspect it misses, which is the human part of it. It cannot do a critical judgment. It cannot give strategy. Because when you look at AI, how it works is that it bases on what is already there, on data that's already there, on work that has already been done to give you what you're looking for. And we as lawyers, of course, today your thought might be this way, but tomorrow you will have a different thought about that same work. So I think AI will not replace us, but only and only if we learn how to coexist with it. That means if we learn how to use it efficiently, it will help us. However, on the other side, it might not replace us, but people who refuse to onboard and join the movement will be left behind. If you look at the routine legal work, which involves the drafting, all that kind of drafting that you can actually get online and all that, if we don't accept and actually co-work with AI and realize that, okay, yes, fine, AI is here and there's stuff AI can do, but there's also stuff that AI can't do, which is the human part of it, which is the client relationship development, which is the decision making, the strategy and all that. If we don't cooperate with AI and actually strengthen that other side, then of course we might be kicked out. And also if we don't become so active in learning how to use all these digital platforms and all these AI tools, yes, we shall be left out.
Very true. We need to be proactive as lawyers and ourselves do trainings and learn how to use these artificial intelligence tools, or else in truth will be left behind.
Before I move on.
Please.
So there is a question about, like when you, okay, this maybe non-lawyers could know or they couldn't know, but when you get into a law firm as a junior, most of the work you do is literally process information. What you're doing is a lot of research, a lot of opinions. It's you getting ready for the market, literally, through processing a lot of information, through collecting all this information, reading all this information. It's what shapes you somehow at the end of the day. It's those 10,000 hours of reading, of opinions, of research that shapes you and gets you ready for this market. So the question I have is, how then will lawyers look like in 2030? I don't know if it's a backward way of thinking.
I think we shall be answering that one as we go along.
Because
Is it
while I kept
directed to
looking
us?
at that, I kept wondering, I'm like, then how will this lawyer look like? Like we've been baptized by fire. The fire, they throw 10,000 things at you to write one line, but in a way that is going to help the partner in the interest of the client. So I kept asking myself, okay, if we get into all this AI, you just put in one thing, develops for you everything, will we ever really get to understand all these clauses that we use to the reasoning behind? Yeah, that is a question I have for you. Thank
For
you.
me, yeah?
Yes.
I think that's a very good question, because essentially I think what you're asking is AI making lawyers dumber in a simple way, right? Because previously we did, in truth, we did too much research to get where we are right now. I can't even imagine, before us there was a time where people didn't even have Google, right? And these people, all they had was the libraries at their universities. All they had were the law reports that they have to read and find a case. And you realize all that right now doesn't exist. So the fact that I am not looking for a particular reference from a legal report in a particular library and then getting it online, does that make me any less better than a lawyer who simply went to ChatGPT, is wonderful at prompting, and discovered the same reference without having to do all that? I think in 2030 it will be an interesting thing to test. But currently, I do not think it makes me any less better of a lawyer. Because again, like many of us have been saying, efficiency is important. I think the biggest takeaway for me, especially from Ms. Karunji, is costly nonsense. I realize we do a lot of costly nonsense. And artificial intelligence is simply trying to take that costly nonsense away. The question is, to whose benefit? Is it the client or to the benefit of the lawyer? It's a very wonderful question, and I think I'll even open it up to the rest of the panelists as we go. But just taking you back to the line of questioning that I was following, IST, Mr. Gislan. We've been hearing a lot about different platforms, right? Including Harvey from America, including Legora. I think Legora is from Sweden, but working on American laws. Yeah. I'm not sure about that. There's a number of them, and now I'm hearing a lot of people talking about the abilities and the skills of Claude being built. Do you recommend any of these platforms? Do you say that IST Legal is much better than these platforms? How is IST different?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. When we usually talk about AI, I would call ourselves like small players, right? We can't be saying that we are competing with Claude or ChatGPT because, first of all, we don't have the target market. We don't share the same target market. Them, when they are training their models, they usually take everything on the internet, and then it's like an ocean of information. So which means that when you ask a question, yes, sometimes it might answer your question, and sometimes it might hallucinate because it's just an ocean of information. Then what we try to do is, instead of doing the same thing as they are doing, why can't we localize our platform? Instead of taking the whole internet, because we don't even have the infrastructure to do that, why can't we take all laws that we have that she was saying on amategeko.gov.rw, and the publicly available case laws, because we can't take all case laws. That would be against the law. And then from there, we build our own platform. Then when you ask a question, instead of going through the ocean of the internet, it actually find it localized, right? So when you ask a question, instead of going everywhere, it will only fetch in the Rwanda laws and also case laws. So then when you, that means that it will also show you where it got them, like citations, right? So that you are pretty sure that something that you are getting is actually there. Even if you want to download it, you can download it. So that's the way we went. And I would say that it has been successful. In Rwanda, we are also having other partners using it in Sweden, Norway, and also Poland. So I think our model actually was proven to be successful, because when you ask a question, you actually answer based on what you see, like you can even download it. Yeah.
And thank you very much for that. That's very clear. And I understand that IST is doing so much great work. Personally, I've had the opportunity to try out IST Legal and ask it a few questions regarding Rwandan law. And I believe IST Legal is moving quite fast and moving us forward. My question then, which would relate to Ms. Mutesi's question, is do you feel that IST Legal is supporting a lot of other users compared to how much it's supporting lawyers? Because without a doubt, it's supporting lawyers. Do you think then it is making us, I don't know, worse lawyers? Because I don't know, does it make us lazy as lawyers, or does it simply support our work?
Now that's on the way how you see things from the outside way. For me, I would not say that it makes lawyers lazy. I would say that it makes them move faster. Like, for example, if you had to process documents, a lot of things in probably, let's say, 2 days, now you can actually do like all the backlogs that you had in like 1 day. That was so I don't think it makes you, and then there is one thing that it's still not removing. You will still need to review what was produced by AI. You will not, one fear that I will probably come with maybe on the 2030 question that she was asking is when lawyers will heavily trust AI so that even when the result comes out, they don't even have time to review it, then that would be problematic. I think that would be problematic. But as long as lawyers are still able to analyze and then say, this is not correct, or this is not said in the way that it should be said, I think lawyers will still be in the loop but move faster. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And considering the reach that IST Legal has now, I've had the number of countries that you're talking about. My next question is, what barriers as IST Legal have you suffered? And this can be regulatory, they can be technical, but more importantly, cultural.
I would say, first of all, is the first barrier, many people think about money. For me, I've been working with IST Legal for the last 2 years. For me, I think the biggest barrier is related to awareness, right? Many people still use chatbots as search engine. The way you go to Google and then you ask a question, you still think that that's what a chatbot can be used. But it actually has a lot to offer. Then many people don't know. They still go to ask like simple question, the question that Google can answer. If you have a question that Google can answer, don't put it in a chatbot. So then I think awareness is the first problem, because many people don't know the abilities. So it's up to us to educate, to market, to even tell, because you can actually draft a whole code submission with AI. You only upload document, facts and everything, and then you tell what you. We have that in our platform, and that was one of the key players selling to law firms because they were like, if I can draft this, I was usually drafting this for 4 days, so I can now draft this in a few minutes. We are buying this. So that's the main barrier. I would say that it's more like awareness, because if you know what something can do, you will not even care about the cost, because you will actually put it on a balance and then say that I was doing this 5 days. If I'm doing this in 1 day, I don't think maybe the cost is the problem. Another thing, mostly in Rwanda, we've not had that in Sweden or Norway or Poland, but in Rwanda, there is one thing that I've seen. There is Kinyarwanda, right? And then there is Kinyarwanda spoken by lawyers. For me, from the tech, from the tech space, I didn't actually know that. I was seeing that the models are quite improving in Kinyarwanda, like the normal Kinyarwanda that I can read. But when it comes to lawyers, they'll be like, this is normal Kinyarwanda. This is not Kinyarwanda that we actually speak. So that's one challenge that we had, but many law firms and many users were probably okay with that. And then for the policy, I think the government of Rwanda and many big players, I think they have tried their best. We still have maybe things to talk about, like maybe API integration. If they do something, how can we access it without, things like that. But I think we are on a good way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Awareness is the issue. I agree, and I think later on you'll help us understand how better we should use these chatbots, because to be honest, I think I'm one of those people who still use chatbots like a search engine. Yeah. Can we come back to Ms. Karunji, please? From your experience with e-justice systems, what are the most effective ways that technology can be used to expand access to justice without compromising due process? And I think this again relates to what you've already been talking about. But we know that there are a number of accessibility challenges, such as slow internet, delays, lagging, and other things, including outage of electricity and more. Are you actively trying to address these? Do you know ways that we can better address them?
Do I also get to answer the 2031 at some
Feel
point?
free, please. Feel free. It's still mind-baffling for me as well.
I think that my colleagues were very polite. Let me put it in a more plain way. AI will not replace lawyers, but lawyers who use AI will replace you. Now, that said, there's a research that was done on the future of the legal practice in 2030, and it projected an increase in the legal AI market of around $1.2 trillion. That means that there is a lot of potential, but we are still stuck on the past. If I can ask you a question, since you have been using laptops in your legal work and legal education, do you think you're dumber than your forefathers who used paper? No, right? No. Because computers facilitated you to a certain point. So a lawyer that uses AI, for me, I think, is playing smarter than playing harder. Again, when I come back to my mountain of costly nonsense, some of us still think that when we write too many words, when we research and are buried in paper, then we are smart. No. So if you can do that for a week, and another lawyer can do the same information, access the same information, produce an even better pleading or writing within 2 hours, then I think they are smarter. And I always tell people this when it comes to AI, and they say it's making us dumber, or I always ask them, okay, AI is assisting us, right? In the same way, CEOs have administrative assistants who do the drafting and all this. Can we say CEOs are dumber than us because they have assistants? No. If anything, they have trained their minds not to focus on mundane tasks, but rather to focus on bigger decisions, making more money, getting more clients, doing this and this and that. Strategy, right? And they have left the mundane, you know, day-to-day drafting things to administrative assistants. So imagine now me and you, we have our own personal administrative assistant that can do all this work for us. Imagine how much more all the brains here can do if they actually focus on strategy and decision-making and etc. So for me, I think that lawyers that use AI are actually way smarter. And I have started a crusade of advocating for teaching the ethical use of AI in universities. I still don't know why universities in Rwanda are not teaching AI. They're actually blocking it out. You don't use AI, you don't use AI. Only to go out in the market and find the law firms are using AI. Then another thing I can say, you will excuse me again, I'm passionate about these things.
No problem.
Another thing I'll say in regards to the lawyers is that there is a big market that has been projected with AI, that lawyers should no longer be concentrating on the paperwork. Who is going to do ethical AI compliance? Who is going to do governance of AI? Who is going to do compliance? Who is going to do all these things that link law and AI? It's you. So if you can't venture into this and discover these markets, this research that was done identified over 15 new career jobs for lawyers, and we are still stuck on drafting. Can you imagine that? So I want to challenge us that from where we are, let us not stick on what our forefathers did, because that is what they could do. And the first people that used computers and Google, they did it better than them. So now for us, it is for us to focus and tune our minds to behave as CEOs, because in actual sense, we all are. And lastly, what I want to say regarding that is that when it comes to hallucination, I don't know. I think it's not AI that makes some lawyers lazy. Some lawyers just don't want to cross-check stuff. And I'll say this because in the recent years, we have seen a rise in sanctions for lawyers who have submitted hallucinated pleadings to courts. Some of them are even fined over $69,000, right? You have seen it in the news, and some of you are saying that could never be me. But tomorrow, when you're practicing, a junior lawyer that, again, has not been taught in school how to use AI, they do the research and then bring you hallucinated cases, and because you don't want to verify, you just submit to court. And then the cycle continues. So I would really encourage you to start using technology. It's not easy to start using AI. It's not easy. Most of you are young, yes, but I know that there is a fear when it comes to AI, that we just want to keep using it as the search engine, right, as you were saying. We don't search deeper. Until the rest of the world has left us again, like they did the last time, now we start trying to catch up. This is our chance. We are here now, AI is here now, we have the same mechanisms, we have the same platforms, we can really make a difference. And I want to caution you that it is actually your responsibility, as I said earlier, that the citizens, the normal citizens, are looking up to you as the legal professionals, as the people that have studied for this, to protect them when it comes to the use of AI. So if you can't understand how it works, how are you going to develop policies that are going to help or to protect the citizens? Okay, that is done.
No, we should even stick to that. Forget about the other question.
Okay.
This is more interesting. Okay. You'll forgive me. But now I still want, because we're about to talk about junior lawyers with Ms. Mutesi, but no, still with you, Ms. Karunji. So what do you think then junior lawyers should do? Because you've mentioned a very important thing, right? You've compared lawyers to CEOs. For instance, a lawyer could have an assistant and they do the other stuff. But right now, we have artificial intelligence assistants. More and more, I become quite scared for the junior lawyers who, at entry level, are supposed to do the very tasks that we are saying that artificial intelligence should do. And you've mentioned things like maybe we should figure out new roles as lawyers. Is that, and I think also the idea for teaching artificial intelligence ethics is a wonderful idea for universities. But what would be your main advice for junior lawyers now? Don't you think those entry-level jobs more and more are becoming less because every law firm is becoming a one-man law firm and we don't need legal associates. We don't need legal assistants anymore. We don't need paralegals anymore. I can simply have Claude as my assistant.
I said earlier that we need to change our mindset, right? If you were a partner in your law firm and some junior legal person came in with different channels of how you can increase your income, are you going to refuse to hire them because they didn't bring drafting? No, exactly. So I recently was reading a book on change management. If I don't bore you, if allow me to bore you, actually I've taken it upon myself to bore you.
We've accepted.
See, those are the effects of working in judiciary. You start. Anyway, so I was recently reading a book on change management, and this relates a lot with AI because this is a new change. And in this book, there were 4 characters. There were 2 mice and 2 little men, and they were right in a maze looking for cheese. The book is called Who Moved My Cheese? You can look it up and read it. It's very interesting. So the 2 little mice were very agile, right? Now, all of them, the 4, they came to a certain corner called Station C, and they found a big pile of cheese. So they started eating on the cheese. But while they were eating, the 2 mice had their shoes wrapped on their neck, ready to move, in any case, if the situation changes here. As I speak this, as I say this story, please look at how you're working now. Currently, in 2026, we are already eating on the cheese that we had, which is the Google and the little computer stuff. So in due process, the cheese started reducing. The mice had already noticed that the cheese is reducing. So as soon as the cheese was no more, the mice were on the next stage, trying to look for new opportunities, for new cheese. The little people were stuck on Station C when there was no more cheese, but they kept coming every day to check and see, maybe someone took our cheese. Who moved our cheese? Someone moved the cheese. Tomorrow we shall come back. That someone should bring back our cheese. So now it was their cheese and they're waiting for it, but there's no more cheese. And this is where we're going with AI. Soon, there will be no more drafting. Whether you like it or not, there will be no more drafting. There will be no more all these entry jobs you're talking about. So it is up to us to start thinking as the little mice that are quick to find new cheese, or to keep waiting for someone to return our drafting at some point. More of the story is, at the end of the day, no one returned the cheese because the cheese was over, and the little mice moved and found new cheese. And this person made a comment and said, if we never move, we will never find new cheese, right? So as junior lawyers, if you don't move, if you don't start running in the maze. It's a maze. No one knows how AI is going to work. Even, again, let me take your time. Even recently, Anthropic, they made a report on their own AI and noticed other capabilities that it can do. In Synergy, we are making AI that can not just answer your questions based on procedural laws, etc., but you can tell it, make for me a report about my cases, this and this, and to create for you a report. So not only lawyers, but even IT people. If you're an IT person and you're waiting that your job will be to do A, B, C, and D, there may be technology at some point that is going to do what you do. So at any moment in time, we need to be ready to move with the cheese, to move and find new cheese for us. So my advice to junior lawyers is that law is not as it was, and law will not be as it is now. So it is up to us to project in 2030 now and start acting like lawyers of 2030. This is why I said universities need to actually embrace technology first, teach the use of technology, and teach the ethical use of technology. But even before the university does, you as an individual has to start moving, because change is about you in as much as it's about the organization. In fact, someone said it well, that organizations don't change. Individuals within the organization change, and when there are many individuals that have changed, then the organization is considered to have changed. So you as an individual, as a lawyer, as a junior lawyer for tomorrow, you don't have a place if you can't effectively use AI.
Thank you very much. That's very, very, very insightful. Let's go back to Ms. Mutesi, and I'll ask a similar question. Again, I'm still worried for the junior lawyers, and I'm wondering if they should go and learn any AI skills before they come to ask for internship at CM Advocates.
Well, the cheese has moved.
The cheese has gone.
So, well, I think I would just have to emphasize what she said, honestly, because it's what it is. We're moving, and we're only moving forward. No one is going back. And if you go learn skills and bring something that the firm doesn't have, that actually needs, that's functionable, then you get a place. That's all.
Thank you very much. And then finally, Mr. Gillen, since you're an AI engineer, for you, I prefer you tell the junior lawyers something technical. Do you think they should start with prompting? Do you think they should learn how to build assistants? What quick skill do you think any of them should pick up right now, because a law firm or any other employer could actually require it?
Okay, so for me, I would start by probably now their job is to know what's already available, right? Like what the capabilities of AI for now, right? And then they try to match that with their skills, because you might be wasting time, if I can say it like that, if you are doing something for 5 hours, which you can do in 30 minutes. That means you are actually losing time. So they still need to have that background, because in order to judge something that was done by AI, you need to have that knowledge that this thing is wrong and this thing is correct. But they need to increase their awareness, know the capabilities of AI. Don't think that AI is only for engineers, it's actually for you. And if it's for you, if you know it right now, you probably lead the others who are coming, and like your boss will give you something to do, and then you do it in 2 hours, while others are still struggling to put up their output. So I think their job is to be aware of what's already there, and also, as you said, prompting is also something that they need to work on, because if you really need something that is good, your question should also be good. So don't be lazy. Don't think that if you write one sentence, you will get everything. So the more you ask a question, which is, sometimes that's when you ask a question to an AI assistant, before answering you, it first even asks you another question. That means that your first question was not complete. Then it's trying to know, with some follow-up questions, how can I formulate a question so that I will bring up an answer. So the more you ask like a complete question, the more you will get a proper answer. And then lastly, the education system needs also to adapt. So we need to find a way. I will not sit here and then say that I have a solution. That's a discussion. It's not only in law, it's actually everywhere. Because if that's being used outside, you need to start integrate it in the universities and everywhere, but on a scale that is not also disturbing the knowledge that they are getting, because that's the base. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our panelists. I don't know about you guys, I've learned quite a lot. Again, I will take this home, costly nonsense, because I believe many of us do that, and I think that artificial intelligence has provided a number of tools for us to make that nonsense less costly, right? So for you as a lawyer, if you want to become more efficient and more money and more fees, I guess using AI to reduce the cost of that nonsense would be wonderful. Awareness is another big thing, and ethical guardrails is something else that I've taken from this conversation. Thank you so much to the speakers. Thank you so much to the audience. Thank you to the organizers. This has been a wonderful opportunity.
If you may allow me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. I would like to invite you to our webinar. We have a webinar on Thursday that is going to showcase the developments of AI through Synergy eCase, which will be helping the legal professionals, the lawyers, registrars, judges, and yeah, I will share the link with the organizing committee, and I hope to see you on Thursday at 3 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Feel free to engage the speakers in further conversation over lunch if you have any questions. I saw some hands were up. We didn't have room for audience questions, but feel free to speak to the speakers. Thank you all.
Another round of applause for our first panelists. I think they set the tone quite well for the conference. We're going to now have lunch. For the sake of organization, we'll lead you row by row. We're going to be using the back and the blues room for lunch, so feel free to carry your lunch to there. And another round of applause to our moderator, David. I think we gave a lot of credit to our speakers, but also our moderator. After lunch, we only have 2 panels and remarks from one of our good partners, and we'll see you after lunch. Thank you. On behalf of the KTNG organization, I'd like to extend our sincere apologies. Lunch will be here in a few. If you'd wait for a second. Thank you. In the meantime, feel free to keep networking and talking to the speakers. We'll see you soon for lunch. Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's get seated. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. I'll kindly ask you to take one step, one seat in front of you. If there's a free seat in front of you, if there's 3 free seats in front of you, please go ahead and take those as we get started. Thank you all. Thank you all. Allow me to introduce our next speaker, all the way hailing from Germany, to speak on AI in African legal systems, our revolution or digital domination, our friend and partner, Andreas Price. A round of applause, please. One more round of applause as he approaches. Thank you. Welcome, Andreas.
How do I move the slides? Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for SATA for setting up the event. Thank you so much for all the co-hosts and co-sponsors. Thank you very much for GIZ allowing us to be here. I'm German, so they are spending my tax money, so I'm very pleased to see what is being spent on. And basically, my presentation is completely redundant, and I don't need to give it anymore because everything has been said, especially by Stella, the first contribution this morning, and she really, really hit it on the nail, especially when it comes to the question of using AI or owning and controlling it. Because right now, you guys are using it, but you don't own it and you are not controlling it at all. And this is what I would like to talk to you about. And I also would like to talk to you about some virtues of a lawyer that AI will not be able to replace. So first of all, let me quickly understand, who of you is a lawyer or studying law? Just hands up, please. So don't be shy. Okay, so I'm speaking to the majority in the room. That is very, very good. And speaking to the majority in the room, I already noticed that some of you have lost the biggest virtue of a lawyer, especially those who are staring on their phones right now instead of listening to me. Because the biggest virtue of a lawyer is to listen. To listen. Because AI will not find the facts for you. You have to find the facts. And the facts are hidden inside a human being. And that human being will only open up to you if you listen to that human being. A machine will not do that for you. Do you get that? Is that clear? Because if you don't do that, don't become a lawyer. Listen is the greatest virtue of a lawyer. And AI will never ever replace that virtue. Because an AI will never build that relationship with the client. You are building that relationship with the client. Which brings me to the second and the biggest asset of a lawyer. What's the biggest asset of a lawyer?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Are you a lawyer? Yes. Interesting. What's the biggest asset of a lawyer?
Questioning, I would say questioning scenarios, questioning situations, and investigating so that you get down to the point of what truly happened. Because I'll take a step further and say sometimes while you're listening, you may receive a lot of facts from the clients, but it's up to you to give them a descriptive image of what the laws say, what the facts that are there, and what are their rights or obligations in terms of what took place.
That's a great answer. And it's also a typical lawyer answer. It's a long answer, right? So, yeah, you're a good lawyer. but in a nutshell, I think I am with you. Because while you are finding the facts and while you are listening to your client, you are building a relationship. And eventually, that relationship ends up in trust And trust is your biggest asset. Okay? Trust is your biggest asset. The machine will only help you to do some research. It will only help you on the second level. But on the first level, you need to listen and you need to build trust. Okay? So, just for the heck of it, because I had so much fun to listen to all these AI enthusiasts in the prior sessions, I'm going to give you a case, all right? I am a lawyer. I have 30 years of experience. I've worked all over the continent. I've incorporated companies in Ethiopia, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Rwanda, in Zambia, in Botswana, in South Africa, I don't know, so many. I've done litigation in so many countries. I've done extrajudicial and judicial work in so many countries. So I believe I do know the continent a little bit. Yeah? And I'm going to give you a very simple case. And that case will also give you an idea where AI finds a space, if it finds a space. So you are counseling the managing director of a nutrition company. They are producing nutritional additives, vitamins, minerals, all of that stuff that keeps you energetic. It's a booming market. Unfortunately, the respective authorities are currently investigating because you have been pampering with the additives. So they are launching a criminal investigation on you. While you're doing that, you're running out of money, and you are indebted, and you have to pay to your creditors, to some suppliers, whatnot, and they are threatening to take you to court. And while that is happening, you also have some problems within the shareholders, because the shareholders, some of them want to exit, others want to drag on, third ones, they don't really know. And on top of everything, you're in the middle of a finance round. So you have some equity investors coming in. All right, now let AI find the solution for you. Good luck with that. All right? So now you can prompt the hell out of you. And AI is going to give you endless information. But what you need to do, you need to pick up the phone and talk to people. All right? You need to talk to the prosecutor and find out what exactly is this investigation about. Was it negligence or was it intentful? Can we get this off the record? Can we maybe pay a fine instead of taking it to a criminal trial? While you're doing that, you're picking up the phone and you're talking to the shareholders and you say, look, guys, if you now don't come to a conclusion, this company is going down and you all lose your money and you all lose your shares. So better you pull on one string right now. And then you talk to the equity investors and you say, hey guys, you know what? This company is thriving. I think we're solving everything and it's good for you to come in and do the due diligence and we get the paperwork ready. That is the work of a lawyer. All right? And once that is sorted out, then of course you do drafting, you do papers, and you do all of that, and that is where AI is going to help you. Okay? So, most of you guys, very young people, I spoke to quite a few of you. Yeah? I engage you in conversations. Many of you are law students, or you have just been admitted to the bar, or you're in the process of being admitted. All right? What my prior esteemed colleagues have told you, they have told you, you got to go with the flow. If you're not fast enough, you're going to be eaten up. I'm telling you something different. I am telling you, focus on your human virtues, which is to listen, finding the facts, build a trustful relationship. And when you're doing that, you are irreplaceable. Nobody can replace you. Because if I trust you, I trust you, I trust you. I'm going to call you in the middle of the night. I'm going to say, hey man, wow, you know, I'm this managing director of this company. I don't know what to do. They're doing the criminal investigation. My shareholders, they are in a mess, and my equity round is falling apart. And then you're going to say, hey man, I'll sort you out. I'll help you. Come on, let's do this. Trust. That is what you young people have to focus on, okay? Build relationships. Because right now, you know, you're going to law school, you're literally on the beginning of a long path. But be assured that in 10 years from now, you and your colleagues who you went to law school with, or to whatever you do with them, they will be in leading positions. They will be decision makers. And if you have that network, they will come to you and they will say, hey, you study law, right? So I have this thing. Can you help me? Right? That's what you need to do. And then you use AI